Hello and welcome to today's Tea Time with Ask Michael K. We have Bart with us, who has recently joined us as to cover the accounting role, but also Bart has started his own business, or at least is interested in some sort of business ventures. So Bart, if you could introduce yourself and what you're up to.
Good morning, my name is Bart Koprowski. I've come here today to have a chat with Michael about marketing and just picking his brain a little bit and learning what I can from him and taking some tips for the future to apply to myself.
So what do you run? What's your venture?
Well, I've got numerous ventures. So one of them is construction, one of them is property, one of them is events in relation to my outdoor cinema, and the other one is concert tickets, which is events related as well as a beauty company with my girlfriend. So
Isn't that too many?
You can never say too many.
Oh yes, you can.
It depends.
With business, it's very important to be laser focused, and
Agreed.
Unfortunately, in some cases, you have to make a very hard decision. And I'm not saying it's easy whatsoever.
Yeah.
Is to trim down the ones that just take up your time, but they're not actually profitable.
Agreed.
Or out of all of them, even if you think that they are all great ideas, you just have to pick one and then focus on them. So
Agreed.
yeah, definitely something you should look into, because otherwise you've got quite a lot of things happening, and I guess that now, because you've also joined us, you're working full time, then you've got even less time to now focus on those businesses. So
Agreed.
So yeah, straight away I would recommend just.
I've already thought that through. With me, for example, I outsource a lot of my work. So, for example, I leave construction more to my dad, so that already creates time for me. Property, I've left it more towards my dad, but I've put it on hold for now. Beauty, I've left it more to Ella. It's mainly only working here with you and focus on my outdoor cinema for now. So
Okay.
that's my very short-term ongoing targets. But at the moment, there's always room for improvement. There's always room where I can create time to focus on other areas. But that's probably, let's say, after one quarter or after a second quarter, we'll see.
Yeah, because there are numerous examples in the business world proving the point. Even Steve Jobs, when he joined Apple again, he looked at all the projects they were involved in, and it's like, guys, just scrap it, let's just focus on the iPad. And that was the next big thing, because he had the vision, and then again all the resources were focused on just developing that. Otherwise everyone was spread too thin. And don't get me wrong, like I said, it's very difficult, and the same as with us, because we sort of send those motorboats out to try different things, and suddenly we're involved in quite a few projects, and at some point we also have to just decide, okay, fine, we just have to cut some projects off, and yeah, it's not easy.
To be honest, for me, because everything's a startup for me, I do agree, I am finding my waters. I'm looking for what's profitable, what's not. I'm more than happy to fail in terms of my businesses, because I'm here to learn. One or two may fail, but there's always progress. Comes,
especially from America, there's this notion where you have to fail to succeed. I don't really sign up to that saying.
Fair enough.
Because I'm a much bigger fan of just deciding what you want to do, and the decision can't be based on profits per se. It must be on your drive, on what your passion is about. And once you pick that, then just don't allow for plan B.
Agreed.
If you just say, okay, it has to work out, there's no other option, it has to work out, then at least you've got like probably 90% chances of it working out.
Yeah.
And in my other videos I also say about a safety net. If you've got a safety net to bounce back on, then you're not really motivated to make that business a success. So yeah, I would definitely just not allow myself plan B. Just there shouldn't be any other option than success. And that is how, when I started, I just had there was no plan B. If this didn't work out, I'll probably be sleeping rough on the streets, because I didn't have anything to fall back on. And again, when we look at various autobiographies or story of other business owners, the same thing, where they sacrificed everything, but their drive was just out of the world. They just had this passion and made it happen.
Yeah.
So same as with your cinema thing, is that truly something you believe in and you really want that to change the way people spend their time, or is it just an idea that you sort of saw somewhere else and you sort of made the numbers and probably there's some profit in it and that's the only reason?
I'll be honest with you, with me, for example, it always starts with an idea. For me, I truly believe there is an avenue with it, not looking from the margin in terms of profit and expenses. In relation to that, it's just in terms of providing a creative opportunity for people not to be so dependent on certain things. So for example, with us being in lockdown or in and out of lockdown throughout the last 12 months, you've realised through in your own experience as well as the people around you that how dependent people are on, let's say, restaurants, cinemas, all these little things. For me, I would have said that people have lacked creativity until they were put in this position. And for me, I'm just trying to provide an avenue for be creative, think outside the box, find other things you can do. Because most people, you can say today, for the last, 6, 7, 8, 9 months, they've probably been indoors. They've only seen their bedrooms or just the interior of their house. And that does relate to mental health as well. But for me, it's just in relation to pop-up, it's just providing an opportunity for people. Just if you are very skeptical about what's going around and you don't want to leave, well, you can say your house, the land in general, your land, you can still go to your garden and do something. With time, obviously, the lockdown regulation is easing. Okay, yes, there's more opportunities coming back up. People are, you can say they're irking to do something. I would say it's more reckless rather than controlled. But what we're trying to provide is just that opportunity for people to, like, for example, events in general. The events industry is going to be booming once we get Corona out the way. But you've got loads of festivals coming up now as well. Park Life, Wireless, and I can't remember what others, but those are the main two for me anyway. So pop-up for me is, I believe in a project, I know it can go far. As you know, even with your business, it depends on how much effort and work and time you put into it. Because if you only put in an amount of time that, let's say it's a part-time job, then you're limiting yourself to reach that higher level. Because you can always create time.
But then how determined are you to make that a success? So in other words, would you literally sacrifice your life to make that happen? Or if someone said, okay, you decide whether it works out but you lose your life, would you still go for it?
I would potentially say I'm motivated enough to fight for what I believe in and follow it. It's like, all I can say is, for example, it's all well and good I'm working here. Let's say I'm occupied till 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock I get home. From 5 o'clock till I go sleep, I literally focus on different areas of marketing, exposure, and just literally just trying to get it out there. It's just make use of your time. Because before you go to sleep.
Yeah, you have to learn as you go, but like I said, you have to really truly believe in that idea, because there's so many obstacles that will come your way that if it's not that higher purpose, one day you'll just wake up and so like, do you know what? I just can't be bothered. Just stuff it. So and I mean, same was with my position. There's so many times that I was just like, if it wasn't for my higher purpose of revolutionizing the steel industry, I'd give up, because I'll probably make more money doing something else than here. But at least it was that vision that was the driver.
Yeah. Okay. I have got a few questions I do want to ask
fire
you.
Away.
They are more related towards marketing to begin with.
Yeah.
So when you first started off with Stilo, or Pulse Steel at the time,
Struck Steel.
Sorry?
Struck Steel was the first name. Yeah,
it
was
my
the
bad.
Combination of structural and steel with an X in between. Struck Steel. It's a terrible name. That was me pretending to be a marketeer.
We will start from somewhere. But as time gone on, you've evolved as an individual as well as a business. So it's all productive going forward and constructive. But one of the questions that I had in relation to marketing was, what was on your mind at the time with marketing, and how has it changed today? That could be in relation to content, platforms, exposure, networking, etc., etc.
Yeah, well, we live in very interesting times because it has changed dramatically. I mean, when I started out, there were still yellow pages out there, so like this thick book, thin pages where you had to manually browse through it. Then the internet was coming out. And it's funny because I already sound like a grandpa talking about, I know, histories from the past, but it just shows how quickly things have moved on, and they move on literally every year. There's something else happening, so it's really accelerated. But then my problem was that because I was good at what I was doing in terms of providing steel, I knew what I was doing. I honestly thought that if I placed just one ad on yellow pages, people will be just ringing and literally pouring in. that was not the case. I had to wait for my first order almost 8 weeks, and yeah, it was totally different than I expected. Then also at the beginning, Google wasn't around as we know it.
Yeah.
So Yahoo was actually a larger searching engine than Google, and there were plenty of directories being formed, like Applegate, Silex. They all disappeared now. Probably Google bought them out or forced them out of the market. But yeah, and it was almost like the Wild West. You didn't know what will work, what won't. And then, but the thing that was a game changer to me, and I think that is still the case till this day, no matter what technology is around, is going from door to door.
Direct.
It happened when I was basically bankrupt. I had no money almost whatsoever. I had £70, all the money, both my private account, business account, and in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I had to pay the rent, and I was like, oh my God, how am I going to make that happen? I wanted to go to McDonald's just to sort of order, to earn a day's wage.
Yeah.
But then I thought, okay, I'm going to give myself one more day, and I printed out very crappy leaflets on A4 paper, black and white, and I literally started walking in Hammersmith, from building site to building site. And then suddenly one inquiry came from that, another inquiry came from that, and that is when things started picking up.
Yeah.
So again, marketing or advertising is one thing, but then there's nothing like approaching your potential customer directly.
Agreed.
So in your case, you can spend endless amounts of time and money on advertising to the world, whereas actually you might just start by knocking to your neighbors and saying, hey guys, I've got this pop-up garden cinema, are you interested?
Yeah.
If they say yes, well then okay, when can we bring it in? If they just say yes, don't think that the whole street wants it and the whole world wants it. You have to literally sell it to them, and they have to pay you for it.
Agreed.
But then we were talking about how marketing has evolved. Well, then there was obviously paid advertising.
Yeah.
But now the world has gone into influencers.
Agreed.
And then obviously this is the new way for everyone. It's about being out there and promoting yourself in the wide world through various platforms. And the amount of platforms is just ridiculous. Like Snapchat used to be a big thing 2 years ago. Now no one uses it.
Agreed.
Now TikTok, just 1 year, and TikTok has taken over
the spectrum,
not
really,
the world, but a specific age group, although it is pouring over to other age groups as well. So yeah, it's really a challenge as to decide which sort of platform you go for. And then what happens is that people go for many platforms, which I hate, because now you have to keep, let's say, 5 or 6 platforms alive and manage them and so on, which is a nightmare. But yeah, we have to adapt to the existing world. If we continued advertising on Yellow Pages, we'd probably be out of business by now. So yeah.
Okay, did want to ask. I had another question. So, what would you say is your advice to the younger you of 10 years ago, compared to where you are today for the future?
10 years ago. Well, 10 years ago, I was already 1 year into my business. So is that the time you're referring to, or a bit earlier before I started?
I'm referring to that time, because usually the first few years is the make or break for some businesses. Some businesses could fail and give up earlier on than that.
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, it was a very difficult journey. But would I change it? I don't know. I think I had to go through all those pains to understand business.
Yeah.
Because if I took shortcuts, then probably I wouldn't be as... I'm not saying I'm good, but probably I wouldn't be able to make the decisions I make now.
Yeah.
And at least I wouldn't be able to share my experience with others.
Agreed.
So I'm not sure, because I then came across the E-Myth, which is over there, in probably 2011 or so. So it was like 2 years into the business, but I only understood why this book is so powerful because I found myself in that disastrous situation where I became the slave of my own business. And by the way, I was given one of the books, the oldest one there, before I started the business. I looked at the cover and I was like, E-Myth probably means internet myth, because E back then was referred to internet.
Yeah.
And and I just thought, stuff it, I won't waste my time reading this boring book. And only when I found myself in the position where I was overwhelmed and I just hated my job, I hated my life, I hated everything, that 24 hours of my day was just something I dreaded and I hated. And that is when I reached that book, I just couldn't stop reading. So again, if I even told myself, my younger self 10 years ago, look, there's this wonderful book, I wouldn't still listen to myself because I still didn't need it.
Yeah.
And actually that is the advice I give in terms of reading books. If someone doesn't like reading books, and I'm one of them, don't force yourself into reading. First wait until there's a burning problem and then find the solution, because then you read like crazy. So I've read most of these books, but again, not because I love reading, it's just because I love searching for the solutions.
Yeah.
So I probably haven't answered your question, because I don't think there's anything I would have changed. I just enjoyed the whole journey, even though it was painful like hell. But it's part of growing a business.
Okay. In relation to you speaking about your books and your concept of reading, would you say, I'll say in my context, for me, reading books, because I only read business related books, for me, I would say reading business related books that I can implement that one page, that one paragraph to you or to your business as a whole, for me, it's been like a breath of fresh air. Would you say you could relate to that?
Oh yes, definitely. I mean,
there's always something you can learn and pick up and apply.
Definitely, yeah. And what I do is I experiment a lot. So whenever I read something, and that's the beauty of being able to implement change in a business, is that I experiment. If something doesn't work out, then I just either ditch it, or I might go back to the source and think, well, what have I done incorrectly? And there's some ideas that I'm still struggling with. Like there are two opposing views. One is that when you grow, basically naturally people within the company will have to be replaced with people with other experience and skills.
Yeah.
Whereas there's another book called Turn the Ship Around, which is written by a sort of chief of a submarine.
Okay.
And he was put into a position where he could not lay anyone off because he was on a submarine. You can't just ditch them at sea, so he had to work with them, and he made them work as a team, and they were the best performing ship out of the worst performing ship. They became the best, and they rewrote the US Navy's guidelines for officers. So yeah, it's very difficult, and I've tried that concept where, okay, well, as of now, let's say we don't lay off anyone, we just have to change their role or put them into a different position. We've tried that in some cases for like over a year with individuals, and it just didn't work out. So that's why, and I'm still struggling with it. I still haven't ditched that book because obviously they did prove a concept.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to understand, where did we make the mistake? Because maybe we've implemented it incorrectly and so on. But again, on the other hand, there are books that say, well, just that's a natural thing. Just you move on, and then it's also people move on.
Okay. One of my last two questions. One of them was, would you say part of your journey, researching and attending courses has been very helpful in your development?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Would you highly recommend that to any future entrepreneur or employee?
Yeah, definitely, and that's also the reason why I share my knowledge and experience, because I want to help other people on their journey. I was lucky enough to come across, let's say, E-Myth and then all the other courses, but then also, and maybe that is something I would sort of advise my younger self, although I didn't need it, but others in my position, I would advise that you have to continuously keep training and learning from others. Luckily, I always wanted to learn, so I was never closed off. Like with many business owners, they just start their business and then they never learn or educate themselves, and they just stay where they were, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago. So luckily, I didn't have to prompt myself with that. I just knew that there are so many others around me who have achieved so much more, and I can learn from. And until this day, and probably until I die, there'll be always someone who's achieved more, or at least has a different view. And to me, sort of the biggest or the benchmark was Richard Branson, because I was struggling with, let's say, 2 employees, tiny business working crazy hours, yet for him, everyone knows that he's got around 400 companies. So I knew that he's doing something totally different.
Yeah.
And between me and him, there's a whole spectrum of other business owners, and I just knew that I can learn from them. So I was always on the journey of learning. And till this day, I continue to learn. I attend webinars. Even yesterday, I attended a Bloomberg webinar, and I constantly learn. But then the other thing that I really recommend to business owners is that they send their management team and employees for training as well. Because the problem is that if you as the owner go, you're so excited, you come back with all these ideas and you just think, oh my God, I'm going to revolutionize, and you just put everything upside down. You come back on a Monday morning and you like bang a wall. It's like there'll be these old problems popping up, people asking you which toilet paper to buy and how much do we spend on toilet paper and all that. And you just drag down straight back to square one. So that's the issue when you go alone. Whereas when you go together with your management team or with employees, or you send them independently, then it's just them that come back and say, hey, Michael, we should do this, this, and that. And it's like, wow, okay, well, there you go. You've got the green light. Just do whatever you've learned, and let's see how it ends up. And a good example was part of the series, Tea Time, we've had with Magda. And she went on to an Institute of Directors course. She's doing a few modules, and then she came back after the strategy module, and she was like, okay, Michael, she was on the board here drawing out, this is what we need to do, and so I was like, oh, great, that's
let me sit back
I
and
didn't
enjoy.
have to talk about it, someone else who's already on the case.
Okay. My final question was just literally the key. You kind of mentioned it and answered at the same time, but for me, I always find it's very essential to build a good power team around you. It could be your employees, it could be your professional specialists that you hire. For me, is how important is building a power team around you to help build your success as well as the people around you?
Yeah, I'm glad you added the final bit, success of others, because in my opinion, this is the success of others that is as equal important, or maybe even more important than my success alone, because the beauty of running a business is that you are part of a team. It is impossible to grow a larger business just on your own. And the other benefit is that with this wonderful team around you, I feel myself, I just excel at what I do, because I can see others growing, and then that motivates me even more. And I always repeat that my success, the only measure of my success is others' success. If they succeed, that means I've succeeded. If I succeed yet everyone didn't succeed or didn't make any progress, then that won't be success. It will be just very short-lived and unsustainable. So having a team is crucial. Building that team, though, is not easy.
It takes time.
It takes time, and you have to be patient, and you have to it's like building blocks. You can't just go for a wonderful team, because a wonderful team wouldn't want to work for someone who's just started out, because there's no promising hope in that idea. So you have to be very, very patient and build slowly, gradually, but it's all about reputation, and you can't drop the ball. And your reputation is built over years. And now if I suddenly started swearing and shouting at someone, which I don't, because I naturally wouldn't. But if I, let's say, did that, then suddenly people would be like, hey, he's gone crazy, and do I really want to spend my precious time with someone who's just out of their mind? So as a leader, there's plenty of things you have to make sure you do, and I'm saying it as if you can force yourself. You just have to be that kind of person. You have to be that leader, which brings us onto the question whether leaders are made or born. Then I do think that they're born rather than made, because you still have to have something within you. Like myself, I was always the sort of natural leader in any group. I was never the loud leader or shouty leader. I was the sort of natural, quiet leader. And the same happens. Obviously, I've improved my skills through all the education and reading. But having a strong team around you is not only a must, but it's actually, that is what brings the joy in every day when being at the business.
Okay. That's all my questions. Just want to say thank you for your time.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Appreciate
And
it.
obviously you have more, just write them down and then we
More
might
than
have
happy
another
to.
session and
Okay.
continue. Yep. And I hope you've also learned something. I hope you're also on the same journey as Bart is. This is exactly why we have this series of Tea Time with Ask Michael K, so that we can answer your questions, because they are exactly the same as you have.
Thank you.
Thank you and see you next time.